Well, hello there. I'm so glad you're joining me today. If we haven't met yet, my name is Emma Lewzey, and I help nonprofits raise more 5, 6, and 7-figure donations for their amazing causes. So today I am joining you to talk a little bit more about some of the top mistakes I see folks making when it comes to major gifts and how to fix those mistakes. So I've been fundraising since 1995. I'm dating myself a little bit here, but this means that I've pretty much made every mistake in the book and then some. So I was thinking earlier back to one of my very first donor meetings with a volunteer. I was leading my first capital campaign, and I had just started working with a volunteer who was super enthusiastic and so excited about what we were doing. And so we went on our first donor call together, and I thought we were well organized and planned out, but little did I know that my volunteer was going to ask the donor in our very first meeting for a gift probably 10 times larger than we were planning on. So if you've never seen a major donor almost fall off of his chair laughing, I hope you never do. But the story does have a happy ending. After we built the relationship a little more with the donor, got to know him better, we did ask for a gift at the appropriate time and ended up getting a very generous 6-figure gift. But it was a really important learning experience for me and a really pivotal moment, which brings me, I think, is a nice segue to the first mistake that I see fairly commonly, which is not having a clear plan or strategy for each and every one of your donor meetings. So tell me if this is something that has ever happened to you before. You've gone out for a lovely lunch with one of your donors, you have a really nice meal, you're having a bit of a catch up, talking about their most recent travels, maybe finding out a little bit about more what the grandkids are up to. Perhaps you do a quick update on one of the programs they support, and then before you know it, you're picking up the tab and your lunch is over. And it was perfectly lovely, but you realize you didn't actually move that relationship forward in a strategic way with your donor. So the fix for that is every time you have a meeting with a donor, a phone call with a donor, interaction with a potential major donor, make sure you have a clear plan and strategy in place. This is something I actually like to write down. I have a template that I use with my clients and my students that helps plan through and think through what you might like to achieve when you're meeting with a donor. And sometimes I hear the objection that it feels a little bit artificial or doesn't feel natural, but I think it's really important role for us to play as a professional, right? We're here as fundraising professionals to guide that relationship forward. We have a responsibility to our donor to make sure that we're making the most effective use of our time together. So mistake number one is not having a plan for every meeting and interaction with a potential major donor. And the fix for that is really to think ahead and write out, what do you want to achieve with this donor? You know, do you want to find out more about their philanthropic priorities? Would you like to have them in for a tour of a key program? And make sure that you have that planned out in advance. And one extra tip for me, I never ever leave a donor meeting without making sure I have a next step in mind and I've gotten the donor's agreement on that next step. So that's a great fix to making sure that you're not making the mistake of not making effective use of your time when you're meeting with donors. So there is a shadow side to this fix, and that is really something that I see fairly often and something that I am guilty of myself. You can't see here, but I've got 10 pages of notes for a 10-minute video, and I'm a bit of a chronic over-preparer. So I see this happening a lot with fundraisers that I work with, where a lot of us type A personalities, we're a bit perfectionist, and we tend to make the mistake of over-preparing for our fundraising interactions and our donor meetings. So it's a fine balance. If you ever find yourself caught in that really common cycle of not being able to do enough research, I see that happening so often. It's like, I just need to find out one more thing about this donor before I make this call. You might be making the mistake of over preparing for your donor calls. So it's something to keep an eye out for. The fix that I really like for this one is just to plan on taking baby steps towards making that call or booking that meeting. Put them in, block them into your calendar, and see if you can find an accountability buddy to let them know, say, okay, I need to make this call by Friday, so I authorize you to check in with me to see if I did that. It's something I often do with folks who are on my email list, with fundraising friends, and with clients, but it's great to have someone who can help hold you accountable to take those steps towards moving that donor relationship forward, especially if you're a bit of an over-preparer like me. All right, so that's a good fix there for mistake number 2, over-preparing. Just make sure you're taking steps and actions towards whatever goal you want, whatever meeting you want. Block that time into your calendar, get an accountability buddy to hold your feet to the fire a little there. All right. So that brings me to mistake number 3. It's something I see really commonly, especially amongst those who are just starting with major gift fundraising. But it can even happen with bigger organizations that have more experience with major gifts as well. And that is that they're looking for potential major donors in all the wrong places. So I see a tendency at organizations to be looking like out there for potential major donors. You know, a major donor is someone who's off busy naming the new hospital wing at your biggest local hospital. But that's not the case, really. You know, I think there are so many donors who are already giving to you that have the capacity to give a major gift, and they are just ready and waiting to be more engaged in your organization and be presented with those inspirational giving opportunities. It's a story I hear over and over again from my clients, those donors who are giving modest and very much appreciated gifts, who in fact ultimately ended up making significant major gifts once that relationship had been built. So one of the donors I'm most proud of, I'm going to call her Sally, is someone that I met when I was working at a small organization. And she was a super generous donor. She'd been giving to us for over 10 years. She was super committed. And she was giving a couple of smaller gifts a year, I think around $50 or $75 to our direct mail campaigns. And I had the opportunity to meet Sally for the first time when we had an open house at our organization. We invited all of our donors. We had a great turnout. They were really keen to see behind the scenes and understand a little better what the impact of their gift was. And so when I met Sally there, she actually expressed an interest in becoming more engaged with the organization and thinking about making a more significant gift. We had been talking initially about the idea of her leaving a gift in her will. So we built this relationship with Sally over the course of time, and it was really driven by her and her needs. And we met with her and we really talked about ultimately that legacy she wanted to leave in the world, that change she wanted to leave in the world. And Sally ultimately ended up making a $250,000 gift in her lifetime. And she, I do believe, actually continued to include the organization in her will. But through our conversation, she actually realized that she wanted to see the impact of the gift in her lifetime. She wanted to be alive and around to actually witness that herself. So these are donors who are already giving to you. And these are stories that I hear over and over again from folks I'm talking to, from small and mid-sized shops too. This is not just the territory of larger shops. So don't make the mistake of thinking that major donors are only giving outside of your organization. Really start with those who are already engaged in giving with your organization first. I will bet you anything you probably have someone just like Sally already in your donor base. So here's a few quick tips in terms of how to make that fix from a practical perspective. I think a few ways you can look at this is look for those folks who really have a pattern of giving over the course of time. So for Sally, she'd been giving for over 10 years and she was ready and waiting to get more engaged with us. So one of the tips I like to share is pull that list from your database of your top lifetime donors. You can often see how smaller gifts will accumulate over the course of time, and it can be a really great way to uncover folks who may otherwise not be on your radar, and folks who actually aren't on anyone else's radar either. I remember Sally talking about how she actually gave to over 10 different organizations that were doing very similar work to ours. And we were the first to actually like engage her in a conversation about the legacy she wanted to leave and the impact she wanted to have with her giving. So those donors are out there and they are just waiting for you to get in touch and to engage them more. So those are my 3 mistakes and my 3 fixes. If you've watched this far, I'm guessing you're probably pretty serious about growing your major gift program. So I wanted to tell you about something I'm super excited about. I am launching in January, and that is an online program called Major Gift Master Plan. So I'm going to be teaching a step-by-step system to help you and your organization raise more 5, 6, and 7-figure gifts for your amazing cause. I've opened a wait list. I'm just going to pop it up on the screen now. And you can sign up here today at 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝐺.com/waitlist. I have all sorts of exciting goodies for folks who sign up for my VIP waitlist, including offering you early access to registration when we open in January and early access to very special pricing. So this is going to be a program with very limited seats, and I'll be offering them to my waitlist first. So I'd love to see you over there. Hope you sign up and hope we can keep in touch. And until then, I just wanted to say thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I know this is such a busy time of year, so I appreciate you hanging out with me and getting to know me a little bit better. And I hope to see you next time, and I hope you have a great week. All right, bye.